The internet has been buzzing non-stop as wild reports continue to circulate, creating a chaotic picture that nobody saw coming. Whispers spreading across social media insist that something explosive is happening behind the scenes. With every new post, even more curiosity is being created. People keep asking the same question over and over again. What exactly is happening between me, Tamar Braxton, Yandy, and Travis Cure? The claims spreading across entertainment pages have created a massive storm, and fans are stunned by just how intense these discussions have become. Some sources continue repeating claims about a supposed secret connection between Mendeecees and Tamar Braxton. The speculation surrounding the two has become one of the biggest topics of discussion, and the idea alone has kept viewers glued to their screens. And as if that drama wasn't already enough, new chatter is now suggesting that a heartbroken Yandy could be leaning toward an unexpected emotional decision involving Travis Cure. Emotions across the internet are everywhere. Fans are debating every possible angle, and the conversation seems to become deeper with every passing hour. The noise has become so loud that even people who normally don't follow celebrity news are stopping to find out what all the attention is about and wondering how far these claims might go next. The discussions spreading online started becoming much heavier when people began sharing what they claimed were private details about the emotional atmosphere inside Yandy and Mendeecees' household. Voices across different platforms described the situation as tense, claiming that the energy between them had changed long before the rumors involving Tamar Braxton ever surfaced. Some posts even suggested that Yandy had already noticed something changing, but she wasn't certain whether she was simply overthinking the situation or whether her instincts were warning her that something deeper was happening. Moments like these can affect the heart in unexpected ways, especially when a long-term relationship is involved. And that is exactly what kept fans watching every new update. People began speculating about what might have been happening behind closed doors and questioning whether the couple had already started drifting apart long before these online reports began spreading. As the conversation continued growing, the claims involving Mendeecees and Tamar Braxton continued gaining attention. Users on different platforms described situations they believed could have hinted at a connection between the two, using vague descriptions and different interpretations. Even though none of these claims had been verified, audiences treated every new detail as though it were a major revelation. Some posts claimed that the two had allegedly been seen in places where nobody expected them to be together. Others described moments that appeared completely innocent to some people but looked suspicious to others. Fans argued intensely, with some insisting that everything was harmless while others claimed that the atmosphere didn't appear casual at all. The disagreement between viewers made the entire situation even more intense as people tried to figure out exactly what these online stories were attempting to suggest. Through all of this noise, the attention repeatedly returned to Yandy. Viewers who have followed her journey for years felt protective of her, and every new rumor brought another wave of sympathy. Many people left emotional comments imagining how difficult it must be to deal with claims like these spreading publicly. Some users said that Yandy had been deeply committed to her marriage and that even hearing such a rumor could be enough to shake her emotionally. Others pointed out that this situation was about much more than a relationship. It involved years of shared memories, sacrifices, and emotional commitment. The audience couldn't help imagining how painful it would be for someone who had remained strong through so many difficult moments. The speculation became even stronger when certain pages started describing what they called quiet tension between the couple. They suggested that Mendeecees had seemed distant recently, appearing to be lost in his own thoughts. Meanwhile, Yandy was allegedly trying to keep everything peaceful for the sake of their family. Some users wrote that she had been trying to hold everything together, hoping that the strange energy between them would eventually settle down. But every new discussion online seemed to pull her further into one confusion. In some places, people even described her as someone who was attempting to remain composed in public while keeping overwhelming emotions hidden inside. That image touched the audience, and the conversations became increasingly emotional as people imagined her dealing with a storm that she never asked for. Then came another twist in the circulating reports. Some, posts began claiming that Tamar Braxton had unknowingly become part of the situation. The way the story spread made it appear as though she had never expected her presence to create such a huge ripple effect. Fans suggested that she might not have realized her interactions could be interpreted in such a complicated way. The idea of Tamar being pulled into a narrative she never intended to be part of added another layer to the drama. People began debating whether she had any involvement whatsoever or whether her name was simply being dragged into something much bigger than she realized. All of these online whispers slowly created a picture of emotional imbalance, and viewers started attempting to connect all the different pieces. Many people discussed how complicated relationships can become when outside noise becomes louder than the people actually involved. Emotional pressure can make even small misunderstandings appear like massive cracks in a relationship. Commenters said that if Yandy had genuinely been feeling disconnected for some time, then these circulating rumors would only make her pain even worse. The thought of learning about such claims through public conversations rather than private communication shocked many fans. They imagined the shock, disbelief, hurt, and emotional pressure of having to face something like this while thousands of people were watching. As the reports continued circulating, a heartbreaking image of Yandy's emotional state began taking shape. Users described her as someone holding on to everything with trembling patience, trying to understand what life was suddenly throwing at her. They talked about her being caught between wanting answers and simply wanting peace. Some people said she might have been replaying certain moments in her mind, wondering whether she had overlooked warning signs or whether the rumors had simply grown completely out of control. The emotional toll that people associated with her situation appeared heavy enough to silence even some of the loudest commenters for a moment. But the drama online didn't end there. Another group of posts added yet another layer to the story, suggesting that Travis Cure had recently been appearing in places connected to Yandy. People couldn't determine whether this was simply coincidence, friendship, or something deeper, but that didn't stop them from sharing their theories. Some claimed that Travis had been offering support, while others suggested that a stronger bond could have been quietly developing between them. Nothing was clear, but the possibility alone created an entirely new storyline for fans to analyze. Pages began discussing how emotional vulnerability can sometimes lead people toward unexpected places, particularly when they feel abandoned, hurt, or broken. The entire situation created a confusing circle in which different names were being pulled into the spotlight whether they wanted that attention or not. Emotions were being projected everywhere, and fans were divided between sympathy, shock, speculation, and disbelief. Some people asked how long Yandy might have been carrying this emotional burden. Others wondered whether Mendeecees understood how deeply these circulating claims could be affecting her. Another group focused on Travis Cure, trying to determine whether he genuinely cared about Yandy or whether people were simply misunderstanding his actions because they were hungry for more drama. Every new rumor added another level of intensity, making the emotional situation appear heavier with each passing day. Certain pages insisted that the silence between Yandy and Mendeecees had grown longer, almost like two people walking through separate doors without realizing how far apart they had become. Others described Yandy as someone trying to find her strength again, focusing on her peace and attempting to protect her heart from completely breaking. All the noise surrounding her had started becoming more than simple background chatter. It was becoming part of the way people imagined her emotional decisions and how she was processing everything happening around her. Through all of this, one thing continued standing out: the emotional exhaustion that people believed Yandy was experiencing. They pictured her lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how her life had suddenly turned into a whirlwind filled with accusations, emotional wounds, and unexpected names connected to her marriage. Moments like these too can break even the strongest person, and the image of Yandy trying to hold herself together made people sympathize with her even more. Many online users said that heartbreak has a way of making the world feel smaller, quieter, and colder, especially when the pain feels personal. The comments reflected that emotion, turning into a collective wave of sympathy directed toward Yandy while the discussions around her continued spreading. The claims involving Mendeecees and Tamar Braxton became even more detailed throughout the online rumor mill. Some people claimed they had seen the two together more often than the public realized, hinting at conversations that appeared deeper than ordinary casual interactions. Whether these claims were true or not, the descriptions were enough to create another emotional storm. Fans started analyzing every expression, every gesture, and every tiny detail in the images being circulated. They argued about what appeared natural and what looked suspicious. Even though there was no concrete proof behind the circulating claims, the power of online speculation turned every small hint into a dramatic possibility. The emotional weight of these claims also began shifting toward Mendeecees. Some viewers said he appeared distracted recently, almost like someone carrying a secret that he wasn't prepared to confront. Others imagined him avoiding direct confrontation and choosing silence instead. That silence developed into a larger narrative of uncertainty, leaving everyone wondering what could actually be happening behind closed doors. Whenever he appeared publicly, people examined his expressions as though they could somehow decode the truth hidden behind them. But the most unexpected twist in the conversation came when attention once again returned to Travis Cure. People who had been following previous updates noticed that his name was appearing more frequently in places connected to Yandy. The entire tone of the discussion changed, moving away from sympathy and toward curiosity. New posts described moments in which Travis appeared genuinely supportive, behaving like someone who understood Yandy's pain in a way that others might not. Some viewers suggested that perhaps he had arrived at exactly the right moment, offering comfort without expecting anything in return. Others believed that an emotional connection between them might have been developing quietly away from all the chaos. The idea of Travis being there for Yandy during such a vulnerable period immediately sparked another wave of conversation. Users imagined him listening to her frustrations and reminding her that she deserved peace, respect, and emotional honesty. They described situations in which he might have encouraged her to focus on her happiness rather than the noise surrounding her relationship. The thought alone was enough to ignite another round of theories, with some suggesting that her bond with Travis could have been growing stronger as the weight of everything else pushed her farther away from the past. Some posts even portrayed Travis as the calm in the middle of Yandy's storm, someone who wasn't judging her or putting pressure on her, but was simply offering his presence. People said that when someone feels shattered by betrayal, having another person who genuinely listens can feel like oxygen. It can be gentle, unexpected, and life-changing. That is exactly what made the conversations surrounding Travis even more intense. Certain fans wrote that emotional vulnerability can sometimes open doors to relationships and connections that might never have developed otherwise, turning pain into the beginning of something completely new. The online narrative shifted once again. Pages began describing the tension between Yandy and Mendeecees as having reached a breaking point. Some suggested that Yandy had finally reached the limit of what she could emotionally handle. Unable to continue carrying the weight of all the rumors, the idea of her confronting Mendeecees began appearing across different posts, creating a picture of an emotional and painful confrontation. People imagined Yandy gathering every bit of courage she had to demand answers. Her voice trembling somewhere between anger and heartbreak. Others imagined Mendeecees struggling to find the right words, caught somewhere between defensiveness and regret. Some fans described him as avoiding eye contact, while others imagined him attempting to minimize the accusations. The confrontation being discussed online developed a life of its own, with people describing the scene as though they had actually witnessed it. Phrases such as tension filling the room, silence cutting deeper than words, and pain pouring into every sentence began spreading throughout the comments. But the part that truly captured the audience's attention was the idea that Yandy, despite all of her pain, was beginning to recognize her own worth. Many posts described her as slowly realizing that she couldn't continue living in a state of emotional uncertainty. They said that heartbreak can either destroy someone or force that person to rebuild themselves even stronger than before. And many viewers felt that Yandy was reaching exactly that turning point. Some claimed that she had begun distancing herself emotionally and no longer looked at Mendeecees with the same softness she once had. Others imagined her pulling away into deep reflection and understanding that sometimes letting go is the only way to protect your peace. These discussions created a powerful shift in the overall narrative. People started rooting for Yandy and encouraging her to choose herself. The possibility that she might find a new beginning became the main focus of many conversations. And this was where Travis Cure's role in the story became even more intense. Community pages described him as appearing at exactly the moment when Yandy needed someone dependable, someone capable of reminding her that love doesn't always have to be painful. Some fans even said that sometimes fate brings the right person into your life when everything feels impossible. Rumors then began circulating that Yandy had started confiding in Travis more deeply, trusting him with emotions she couldn't express anywhere else. People imagined Travis offering genuine reassurance and helping Yandy heal one piece at a time. As more of these details spread, the audience became increasingly convinced that something important could be developing between them. They viewed it as a natural result of emotional comfort meeting emotional emptiness, with two broken pieces supposedly finding a way to fit together when nobody expected it. All of this created another enormous wave of speculation. Some users argued that Yandy was simply looking for temporary comfort, while others insisted that something meaningful was beginning to develop. But one thing seemed to unite everyone: the belief that Yandy was changing. People believed she was finding her strength again and moving away from heartbreak towards something that felt more like hope. And as these conversations continued moving from one platform to another, a new claim began gaining attention among fans, a claim that was about to push the entire narrative in a direction nobody had expected. As more online chatter continued unfolding, people began imagining how Yandy's decision might have started taking shape. The idea that she could finally move forward became more than simple speculation. Posts described quiet evenings in which she supposedly reflected on her life, her relationships, and the kind of future she wanted. Fans imagined her thinking deeply about what loyalty, trust, and love truly meant, eventually realizing that she couldn't stay trapped in a situation that constantly reminded her of betrayal. The possibility of starting over with someone who appeared genuinely supportive created a mixture of excitement and anxiety within the online narrative. The conversation repeatedly returned to Travis Cure. People imagined subtle gestures between them that seemed meaningful, such as a hand placed on his shoulder during a difficult moment, a quiet word that felt like understanding, or glances that appeared to suggest something deeper than friendship. These small interactions became much bigger in the minds of viewers, transforming ordinary moments into major turning points in a relationship that fans believed might be developing. The audience became emotionally invested in the idea that Yandy could finally feel seen and heard after experiencing so much emotional neglect. They suggested that moments like these could help rebuild trust in ways that previous experiences had damaged. Meanwhile, the rumors about a secret romance between Mendeecees and Tamar Braxton continued becoming stronger. Some people suggested that it wasn't simply emotional betrayal, but something that had supposedly been hidden for months, or perhaps even years. Fans imagined heated online arguments, friends and family members becoming divided, and late-night confrontations where voices rose and hearts were broken. They pictured the kind of tension that leaves a room completely silent afterward. At the same time, people continued interpreting Mendeecees' actions as signs of something bigger, while stopping short of finding any real clarity. Fans interpreted his hesitation as either guilt or confusion, which only increased their fascination with the unfolding drama. The contrast between his uncertainty and Travis Cure's supposed reliability added even more layers to the online story and raised the emotional stakes for Yandy. For the narrative then took another dramatic turn when fans began imagining moments of direct confrontation. Some described situations in which Yandy might have finally expressed everything she had been feeling: anger, sadness, disappointment, and the desire for respect.